The What to Read Next podcast helps you build a TBR of future favorite books. In each episode, Lori and Mean interviews authors and book influencers to recommend books they loved for you to pick up today. If you're an avid reader, always looking for your next great read, then the show's for you. Hi, Sangu. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a British Indian author who writes mostly fantasy and sci-fi. Until now, all my books have been for children, but my newest book, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, is my first novel for adults. And yeah, and I think it might, I say this about all my books, but I think it might be my favorite to date.
I love it. It's your favorite child until you have a new favorite child,
Exactly.
So when led you to start writing adult novels? Like what was the bridge to getting to this new level, next genre?
I think it was a combination of the right time and a complete accident. So I have wanted to write a book for adults for a very long time. Weirdly enough, when I was a teenager, my first books were for adults. And it's like as I got older, the age group got younger. But I have wanted to, but I've been waiting for the right story. And this just happened to be it. So I think that in that sense, it was a long time coming, but it was also an accident. Yeah.
I love this. So let's chat about the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. What is the elevator page?
It's oh god, it's always so hard to boil it down. Okay, it is a romantic fantasy about a lonely witch who is roped into becoming a magical tutor to 3 unruly witch children, and in doing so falls in love and finds a family she never had.
I love this. And so when it comes to writing fantasy, there's different elements that we have to take into account. We take into account world building, plot, characters. Which one comes first for you?
Character, I think. My ideas always start with usually the central character, the protagonist, the narrator, depending on the point of view of the story. And I usually have a fairly good sense of who they are from the start. Mm-hmm. And the world kind of builds naturally from that starting point. So like in Mika's case, I knew that she was going to be a lonely witch who was going to answer a mysterious message starting with "witch wanted." And from that point, it was just quite natural to ask questions like, well, who might be sending this message? And what kind of world might somebody get this message? And to kind of build from there. And I think once the world and the characters is kind of set, the plot unravels. Mm. So I think I always start with character.
And are you a plotter or are you a pantser?
Both. In as much as I did one of those like your zodiac sign and what kind of writer you are, and I think it said that I was a lawful pantser or something like that, which effectively was that I have an outline, mm-hmm. but I will deviate from it as I go along and things will work themselves out. So I do usually have a pretty clear idea of like the beginning, middle, and end, but it's only as I write that the connecting tissue builds itself.
It is all good. So I had a question. Are you planning to do more adult books? Or you want to go back to YA, or you want to do a mix of both?
All of them. Yeah. I'm definitely going to write more adult books. I have one coming out next year that's already sort of in the works, mm-hmm. And hopefully more after that. I have a new middle grade series starting in 2024 and a graphic novel for children. So I have no plans to stop writing for any of these age groups anytime soon.
So how do you balance it all?
With a lot of stress. I don't know. People ask me this a lot, and I don't know. Sometimes spend a lot of sleepless nights thinking about my deadlines. Sometimes I'm really close to a deadline when I finally kind of finish. Sometimes I'm a little bit past a deadline. But I think, I don't know, just maybe the way my brain works, or the fact that I've been writing so much for so many years now that it's a habit. It's something I do. Um, it's something I love to do, but it's also work. So I treat it like work, and I kind of try and make sure that I'm at least a little bit disciplined, with varying degrees of success. And yeah, and I just sort of lots of calendar scheduling and to-do lists, really.
Oh my gosh, I love this. All right, so what kind of books do you tend to read? Do you tend to read fantasy or another genre altogether?
Pretty much anything, really. I mean, I will say that for the most part, I read fiction. I'm not. I do read some nonfiction, but fiction is where my heart is. Fantasy and romance are the two genres I love most, which makes sense because I kind of just combined the two for this book. I love those. I read those most of all, I would say, of all age groups, really. But also, funnily enough, I never write this. I have no plans to ever write it, but I read a lot of crime fiction as well. And it's weird. It's one of those things. Like a lot of people, I think, if they are writers, read the sorts of things they write. And I do. I do read the things I write. And I also read something completely different.
Yeah.
It almost feels like, I mean, I guess maybe it's because it's so far from work that it's just completely new. Yes, a lot of crime as well.
I love it. Honestly, sometimes it's just giving a murder book. It's just like a nice little break from, the romance, the HEA, the fantasy, the world building. It's like someone got murdered. We got to figure out what happened.
Yeah. And I've always loved and I think murder, crime,
Yeah.
thrillers, the whole spectrum of them, from the cozy mysteries all the way to the high octane thrillers.
Yeah.
I do enjoy them.
I love this. All right. So do you have any books to recommend our listeners to pick up?
Ooh. People, again, the moment I get asked this question, I every book that exists just vanishes out of my brain. Every book ever. I'm very excited to start reading Babel by R.F. Kuang, which literally just came out in the US, I think.
Yeah.
I just finished reading Love on the Brain, Ali Hazelwood, of course, which was amazing. And I mean, I have so many books that I'm excited to read, and so many that I've read recently that I love. But usually, if I remember anything, it will be the ones that are just immediate, the ones that I just finished or just about to start,
Yeah, I understand completely, because you cannot ask me questions you should not be able to ask me. Who's your favorite author? What's your favorite book? What's the latest book you read? I'm like, I really remember the last book I read, but not a few weeks ago or even let alone months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I often get asked, understandably, I think it is a very natural question to ask. I ask what my favorite book of all time is. I'm like, I don't even know books anymore. I can't think of a single book.
Yeah. I understand completely. So tell us where we can find you online.
I am, so I have a website at www.sangumandanna.com, and I'm also on Instagram, and it's just my name at Sangu Mandanna. I am a few other places, but I think the best places to find me are Instagram or my website for actual info.
I love this. Thank you, Sangu, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For a list of books mentioned and other romance recommendations, please visit watchyournextblog.com. Did you know you can purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore? With Libra.fm, you can pick up more than 250,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from real booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company, you know the name, but you'll be part of a different story, one that supports the local community. If you're new to audiobooks, they're the perfect way to squeeze more reading into your busy life. Listen with the free Libro FM app while you do your chores, walk the dog, relax at home. If you already love audiobooks and don't know what to listen next, check out recommendations from people who know the best booksellers. The What to Read Next podcast has a special offer for our listeners. Get 2 audiobooks on Libro FM for the price of 1 with your first month membership. Use code What to Read Next. The offer is valid only for new members in Canada and the US. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.